Chapter 14. Buns. Lauren didn't make any good friends in her first 3 days at school, but the kids in her class were okay, and nobody dared give her any hassle. The only stressful scenes had been daily slanging matches between James and Andy Pierce at the bus stop. It had only been verbals, but Lauren had a nasty feeling that it would kick off into something bigger. The mission was progressing, although nothing sensational had happened since the weekend. While the kids were at school, Ryan tapped out emails and made endless phone calls to his contacts. Zara spent a lot of time dealing with all the domestic stuff that goes with keeping a family going, and the rest catching up with the paperwork that formed a major part of the senior mission controller's job. She also made sure that the kids went down the hill and showed their faces at the protest site every day. Lauren would visit straight after school and put on her good girl act, dishing out drinks and hot cross buns to the pensioners who stood loyally by their placards for up to 10 hours a day. They were generally decent sorts, who always made a big fuss of Lauren and raved about her tea-making skills. Most of the oldies had dead spouses and grown-up kids, and Lauren got the impression that the daily vigil behind the police barriers filled a big hole in some empty lives. And hanging out with them wasn't a total waste of time. Even though they were about as soft-core as Zebra Alliance members got, they'd overheard a million conversations, and their gossip let you know whether an approaching activist was considered a sweetheart, a psycho, or someone rumoured to be an undercover cop. None of it was hard evidence, but Lauren noted the names of anyone the pensioners didn't like, and scored a surprisingly high hit rate when she checked them against the criminal intelligence database back at the cottage. They also turned out to be right about the undercover policewoman. Kyle and James usually visited after homework and dinner, when the sky was beginning to turn dark. The oldies had packed up their folding chairs and newspapers by then, and given way to a livelier crowd of students, young couples, and the odd kid. They were a friendly bunch, but every so often an eager young buck, usually drunk, trying to impress a girl, or both, would unleash paint, eggs, or bags of flour at the staff driving in or out of the Malaric compound. It was 50-50 whether the thrower escaped or got nabbed by one of the police officers who concealed themselves behind the hedgerows whenever the crowd looked boisterous. The arrests were good-natured, and the suspects always got cheered as they were handcuffed and loaded into a van for the 12-kilometre ride to the police station. It was Wednesday, coming up to 4:50 p.m. Lauren was cutting across the field behind the cottage, holding a tray of empty picnic cups and the remains of a packet of biscuits, when she spotted Stuart Pierce standing 30 metres away, up to his knees in thistles and grass. "Hey," he said, using the least threatening voice he could manage and wearing a "please don't kick my ass again" look on his face. "I know you told me not to come over here, but is it okay if we talk?" Stuart was in Lauren's year at school, and they'd even been on the same basketball team in a PE lesson, but this was the first time they'd spoken since Monday. "Guess it won't kill me?" Lauren shrugged, feeling an odd mix of emotions for a kid whose mum had been blinded by the AFM, but who'd also spat in her face. Stuart smiled uneasily as he wandered over. "I know we got off to a bad start. I take it you're referring to the brick that you threw through my bedroom window?" "I'm sorry, Lauren. Is it okay to call you Lauren?" Lauren had come to realise that Stuart was a quiet kid. He only had one mate around school, a skinny Asian dude who didn't live in Corbin Copse. "Well, what else are you going to call me?" she smirked. Stuart realised he'd said something dumb and started going red. "I'm not a yob or nothing, you know. I never did anything like that before. Did they fix the window? I've got money saved up. I can probably pay for it." "They've put a board in, but it's leaded glass, so they've got to make all the little squares into a new piece," Oh, Stuart said weakly. It's okay, Lauren said. I didn't tell Mum your name, and she's claiming the money on insurance. Cool, he said, looking down at the black plastic shoes on Lauren's feet. You know, on the bus, when you said I could have my boots back? Lauren nodded. They're in my room. I thought about leaving them on your doorstep, but I didn't want to bump into your brother and his mates. Stuart tutted. My brother's such a dick, going around acting like he's sticking up for me. He used to batter me all the time when my mum was out working. Lauren set off towards the house. It's sad what happened to your mum. But Ryan and my mum are nothing to do with the AFM. They're totally anti-violence. You really kicked my ass. Where'd you learn to fight so good? Lauren used the standard Cherub excuse. My dad was a karate instructor. Sweet. So you must be at least a black belt, or something. Lauren nodded. Second Dan black belt. My brothers, James and Kyle, are both third Dan. I wish I was tough, Stuart said. Not that I'm a weed or anything, but I've never had proper lessons. One time Andy had me pinned, I grabbed this massive book and knocked him spark out. He puked about 8 times. Must have been funny, Lauren giggled, as they passed through a wooden gate into the back garden of the cottage. Lauren's room was just down the hall from the back door, and even though she'd lived there for less than a week, she'd managed to turn it into a bomb site, with tangled clothes, school books, and fizzy drink cans everywhere. Stuart looked guiltily at the boarded-up window as Lauren grabbed the boots from under a jacket and some dirty jeans. My feet aren't that bad, and I only wore them one day. Cheers, Stuart grinned. I told my aunt that I'd lost them when I changed for games. She was doing her nut because she paid 80 quid and I've only had them for a month. Your aunt? Lauren said curiously. Stuart nodded. She moved in with us after the attack, to help look after us and that. She feels bad, because she got my mum the job at Malaric in the first place. Does your aunt still work there? Nah, she got scared and quit not long after the AFM started attacking people. My mum hated working there as well. So why didn't she get another job? My dad went off with another woman and left a big mortgage behind. Malaric has to pay danger money. It's 3 times what you can make working on a farm or in one of the superstores, and they're always short-staffed, so you can do all the overtime you like. My mum didn't like what they do to the animals. I even heard her crying a few times. All she did was feed the animals and hose out cages and stuff. They offered to give her training so that she could do injections and eye drops and that. It would have been more money, but she used to get upset just watching other people doing it. That's sad, Lauren said, glancing at her watch. Listen, it's not that I want to kick you out, but my family's going to some Zebra Alliance meeting at the university tonight, and I've got to change out of uniform and stuff. Right, Stuart said. Thanks for the boots. Lauren smiled. I haven't got any mates around here, so if you want to come over for dinner one night or just hang out, that's cool. Yeah, Stuart said. My mum's been totally down since the attack, and it's not nice being stuck at home when she's in a mood. Sometimes I end up wandering around the village thinking dark thoughts, like maybe I'll throw a brick through that window. Lauren burst out laughing. Well, next time just ring the doorbell, eh? See you at the bus stop in the morning.